I remember when I went on my phone, I ended up getting a text from my crush asking me, Bubba, why is this on your Snapchat? And she ended up sending me a photo that was in my eyes only. And at that moment, I realized my crush hacked me on Snapchat. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but crazy story. Now, this story all takes place back when I was in high school, and this was actually my grade 9 year. Now, in grade 9, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a pretty cringy kid. I had a crazy bad stutter, I only focused on video games, and I was just getting into girls. Meaning that I was like just learning the new ways of pulling girls and stuff, and one thing led to another. I'm not gonna lie to you, I got into some pretty deep stuff. Now, this is a fair warning to everyone watching this video. Don't do what I do. These are all for purely entertainment purposes. I'm not trying to educate you on anything, but this warning is me basically saying don't do anything I do in this story because I regret it to this day. But anyways, I remember back in my high school year, my grade 9 year, I was like learning how to pull girls and stuff. And there was this one girl in my high school that I had a major crush on. Now, this girl, in a way, for some reason, was known throughout the school for being a really toxic girl. Like, she would always get into drama. She would always stir the pot. And for some reason, anytime she like talks to a certain guy, she likes to get toxic with it. And me, I was like new to toxicity. Like, I didn't know like what it meant to be like in a toxic relationship or in anything toxic in that matter. In grade 9, I always tried to keep my nose clean from, you know, toxic things that are in this planet. But let's just say grade 9 started to slowly swerve me in a different direction. Because for some reason, this girl being so toxic made me more attracted to her. And I remember the more and more like drama she would get in, the more I'd find her attractive from it. I don't know why. I guess I'm weird for that in some way. But there was one time where I remember I was sitting in the school cafeteria eating my grilled cheese sandwich. And as I was sitting there, I remember this girl ends up walking up to me and sitting right in front of me. And she looks at me and says, Bubba, I have a question. Do you know this guy? She pulls out her phone and shows me a picture of my high school bully. Now, back in high school, I had a bully and he was like a jerk and everything. I mentioned him in many different story times, but when she showed me that photo, I remember I started panicking. And I'm like, yeah, he's someone that doesn't really like me for some reason. He always picks on me. Wait, what about him? Okay, I need you to do me a favor. Yeah, sure. What's up? Okay, well, I need to go on a date with you and it's gonna be here at this time. I remember she ended up basically writing it down on a piece of paper that she pulled out of her backpack, and it was at a restaurant at a very specific time at 6:15 p.m. and she wanted me to go out with her. I remember I thought this was like a really weird thing because how does my high school bully have to do with anything with me going on a date with this girl? But in a way, I mean, I was attracted to her and honestly I had a crush on her like I said earlier, so I just ended up saying, yeah, sure, I'll be there. I remember she ends up getting up and walking away, and from that moment I was severely confused. I have no idea why she asked me out at a really odd and specific time, but I mean, hey, I wasn't complaining. If there's anything my bully was gonna be useful for, it might as well be for me getting my crush. I remember later on that day, I ended up getting an Instagram message from this girl. She ended up following me on Instagram out of nowhere because before she didn't used to, and she started shooting me a message telling me like, you know, how I should dress, how should I look and everything. And I was really confused because like, you know, I thought a date would be, you know, a time to actually like get to know someone and meet someone. But for some reason, this girl was like on a totally different mission. So I didn't get in the way of it. I just said sure. And well, one thing led to another. When I got home, I put on the exact outfit she wanted me to. I styled my hair the way she wanted me to. And I even took off my glasses because she says the glasses make me look nerdy. So I remember as I got dressed and everything, I ended up waiting till around 6 p.m. and that's when I ended up heading over to the restaurant. When I got there, I saw her standing out there, but she was standing outside the restaurant looking through the window like a weirdo. And that's when I walked up to her and she turned around and looked at me in shock. She was shocked to see me and she's like, oh, wow, looks like my wardrobe advice actually did really good. You look awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, okay, anyways, back to what we were doing. We should go inside. So I remember me and this girl, we ended up going inside the restaurant. And as we walk in there, I'm walking up to the host to, you know, ask for a table for two while she's looking around the restaurant for a specific person. And at that moment, I kind of started to get the memo of what was going on. And that's when I asked her saying, what are you looking for? Oh, well, remember that guy I showed you a photo of earlier? Yeah, what about him? Well, he's supposed to be here with another girl, but he's not here. At that moment, I remember me and her, we ended up sitting down at this table and I looked at her and said, wait, did you just invite me out to make him jealous? At that moment, she ended up like kind of going quiet and she's like, not exactly. Like, obviously I want to get to know you. At that moment, it sounded like a blatant lie and my attraction for her just went out the window. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't into her anymore. After seeing that, like, I get it. It's fun to be toxic and stuff, but this is just purely really disgusting. So I remember I basically at that moment turned off myself, and I just ended up not actually even like trying to communicate with her, nothing. We ended up just ordering our meal, and I just sat there. She just kept yapping on and on about why, like, you know, she was trying to make this guy jealous. And one thing led to another. I ended up standing up and saying, I need to go to the bathroom. And I went towards the bathroom. When I got there, I remember I realized that I forgot my phone at the table. But I mean, like, there's no way she was gonna get my phone. Like, you know, it's password protected. Nothing could happen. So I took a Waz, and then I walked back to the table. But when I got back to the table and started heading towards there, she ended up looking at me, and she threw my phone on the table and tried to align it to the way I had it put there originally in the first place. I saw this all happen. She thought I didn't, but I didn't think too much of it. I ended up sitting down in front of her once again, and we just started eating her food. And that's when she looks at me and says, so, Bubba, I was just curious, like, me and you, right? Like, I could see us actually being together. I remember I looked up at her so confused on what she was talking about. And that's when I said, why do you think that? Well, I don't know. Like, I always thought you were kind of like a nerd and like a loser, but after seeing you today, like, you actually look really good. At that moment, I started to like really think over everything. And I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe this guy did her wrong the same way this guy, you know, would always pick on me. And hey, maybe if me and her got together, not only would it bother my bully, but at the same time, she would be into me. So that's when I ended up asking her for her number and basically more social medias to follow her on. And then the weirdest thing ended up happening where she said, oh, I already did that on your phone. Don't worry. Wait, what? Yeah, like I already like went on your phone, kind of. I'm sorry. I'm a bit Snoopy like that. Is that okay? Yeah. No, totally cool, I guess. Even though in my mind, it wasn't actually cool. Like, who does that? But that's not even the worst part, because I remember as me and her ended up walking out of the restaurant after finishing our food, we ended up going to the parking lot. And right as we got there, I remember we ended up seeing a couple walking towards the restaurant, and it was my bully and his new girl. At this moment, I remember my crush looks at me, and she just starts making out with me right on the spot. She ends up grabbing me by the face and just starts kissing me. And I remember my high school bully ends up walking up to me, and he ends up ripping me and her apart, saying, what is going on here? Wait, Bubba, is that you? Bro, what are you doing? What? You can't be pulling girls. You're dumb and you're a loser, bro. And before I could even say anything, I remember my crush ends up coming up beside me saying, oh, well, honestly, like, he's my new man, so stay mad. At that moment, I could see the anger fuming in this guy's face. And the girl he ended up bringing himself looks at him and says, honestly, like, just don't worry about it. Let's go eat. I don't want to deal with this. And they end up going inside. I had really no idea what was going on, but I ended up basically staying quiet and said goodbye to my high school crush, and I ended up basically walking away. I ended up going home that night, pretty happy that I went on a date, but at the same time, still kind of weirded out on the circumstances it went on. And I remember I ended up hopping on my Xbox after, and I started playing video games. But as I was in the middle of a Call of Duty team deathmatch, I ended up getting a text message on my phone. I got a message on my phone, and it was from my high school crush, and she texted me saying, Bubba, what in the world is this photo? And she ends up sending me a photo of my eggplant, which is honestly mind-blowing because I never sent that to her. And fair warning to everyone, do not take photos of yourself in inappropriate ways. It is not a good idea. The internet is forever, and it is not a good thing to do. But I remember when I looked at my phone, I saw that she texted me a photo of my eggplant. I started to panic, and I'm like, wait, what? How'd you get that photo? What? How? And that's when I ended up going on my Snapchat. And when I opened the app, I was logged out already. And that's when I realized this girl ended up hacking my Snapchat and went into my eyes only to see a photo of my eggplant that I never sent to anyone. To be honest, I don't even know why I took that photo. Like, it really weirds me out to this day. And I remember I ended up calling this girl, and I'm like, why were you on my Snapchat? Oh, well, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna be mine, like, you know, I gotta know everything about you and like what's going on in your life. So you hack my Snapchat? Well, yeah, that's what everyone uses, dummy, is what she tells me over the phone. And that's when I just got pissed. Like, I got so mad, and I started basically yelling over the phone saying like to basically leave me alone, don't ever talk to me, like, you're a weirdo, is what I told her. And she, I guess, got really upset, and she started almost crying over the phone. But I just ended up blocking her on everything and blocked her number. And I just promised myself to stay away from girls that are that toxic. Don't get me wrong, to this day I still meet some girls that are toxic and have my fun and maybe do the devil's tango, but never will I date a girl that toxic. If you guys have ever met a toxic girl like this one, then follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. Okay, so before anyone said anything, doxing is not a good thing to do. Do not dox people. If it's not on the internet, then don't put it on the internet, is basically what I'm saying. Private information is an important thing, and I know people think that I still dox Jellybean, but I'm here to say I did not. And here's a story about, actually funny enough, how I got doxed, but not by just anyone, by a literal ooh girl. Yeah, I know, ultimately cringe. But before we do get into the story though, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, did I mention that I am currently live on Twitch streaming to you guys right now and telling more of these crazy stories. So make sure you guys do go check that out. Also, on top of that, make sure you guys do follow me on Instagram. I know a lot of you guys don't know this, but I do have an Instagram account. Make sure you guys do follow me at Bubba Streams. I will be reading your guys' comments and as well as send me a message of your guys' craziest story. Now, other than that, let's get straight into this insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story takes place, funny enough, back when I was in grade 9. So this was my grade 9 year. I was a freshman in high school and I was just a basic dude. And I remember one thing me and my friends always did was go into Xbox parties and troll around and basically play Black Ops 2 and yell at kids. That was most of the main thing we did. And before anyone says anything, yes, I was a very toxic Call of Duty player. Like, by toxic, I mean toxic. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people found old clips of me freaking out. Yes, fair warning, I was toxic. Going on though, I remember me being a toxic kid. I would always go into like random lobbies and stuff and just basically yell at people and yell at girls and yell at everyone and basically be that weird angry kid all the time. There's one thing you guys got to understand: the internet is not what it was back then till now. Like, if you guys really think about it, back then, if you know, were to tell people to do things and scream at them and doing a bunch of toxic stuff, yeah, you'd just be laughing with them. Like, it would just be a joke. But nowadays, it's like serious. I don't know. I grew up in a totally different age. Let's just say it was a different era of the internet. Okay, it was before everyone turned soft. So going on, basically what ended up happening was one day me and the boys were all trolling on Call of Duty, screaming at some kids in a team deathmatch. Yes, in a literal team deathmatch. And then I remember what ended up happening was there was one girl that was in that game and she was basically yelling back at me, and me and her, we ended up yelling back and forth at each other like crazy. She told me things like, OMG, like, you're literally like the worst gamer ever. Like, literally, like, unplug your console and like go cry to your mom, you little. And yeah, she would swear a lot at me. I'm not gonna swear in this video because I don't like swearing, but you guys know what I mean. Basically, she was being super toxic and I didn't know what to do. But one of the boys ended up saying, yo, bro, just invite her to an Xbox party. Let's all yell at her at the same time. So that's what we did. We ended up inviting her to our Xbox party. And when she joined, the first thing she ended up saying was, ooh, 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 ooh. I don't know. I can't say ooh, good, okay? Don't bug me. Like, my Fortnite girlfriend could probably do it better than I can. But going on though, she said ooh, ooh, and then she started yelling at us. At that point, me and the boys were all laughing. We were all dying our hearts out. To think that she actually said ooh, ooh made me cringe and laugh. And as we were laughing, I remember this girl was like, oh my goodness, like, who do you guys think you are? Like, ooh, like, you guys gotta like stop being annoying. Little did we know she ended up having Tourette's, but that's later on in the story. So basically, we kept making fun of her and she kept making fun of us. And one thing led to another. Her boyfriend ended up joining the Xbox party. Yes, her literal boyfriend. And her boyfriend sounded like some 40-year-old dude. Like this girl sounded like she was 12, but this dude sounded like he was 45 to like 50, like old enough to be her damn dad. And he's like, oh, you guys better stop making fun of my girl, bro. Like, who do you guys think you are? Like, 1v1 me in Nuketown 2022. Yeah, he literally asked me to 1v1 him. Yeah, I don't know what he was getting at there, but basically me and him, we ended up going into a 1v1 lobby and 1v1ing each other. She was basically cheering him on the whole time, saying, ooh, like, you'll win for me, my sugar plum. Ooh. Yeah, okay, listen, I can't make impressions, okay? Don't laugh at me, guys. But still, she was saying all that and it was ultimately just cringe. I remember I told her to literally go back to the kitchen and cook food. Reminder, don't say this to this day. This is not a good thing to say, and do not, you know, harass people like that, because obviously, like I said earlier, this was a different time and age of the internet. And one thing led to another. She ended up saying a bunch of numbers. She was counting down from 10. She was being all creepy and stuff. And at that point, her boyfriend was all like, oh, she really did it to her now. You're screwed, buddy. I remember I was looking around and I'm like, what? Why is she saying these numbers? And then she literally said my address. She literally said the exact address I live in. I don't know how she ended up doing it. She literally ended up doxing me. And she said it in front of my Xbox party, which is all the guys that are IRL. So they all automatically know where I live. But she literally said my address like perfectly. I ended up telling her, how do you know that? What in the world? That's not my address. Wait, how do you know that though? Where'd you even get that from? And she's all like, oh, like, I know a lot more than you think. Ooh. And I was like, okay, this is kind of getting scary. And then she ended up saying my full name, saying, oh, so your name's Arash Baba Moini, aren't you? Okay, this is where things got really scary, because now this girl has my full name and my address. And then she started like, you know, sending me pictures of my family, and she started like messaging like my family members' names to the point where she literally doxed me. She hacked me. She literally found a way to literally hack me and all this crazy stuff. I was freaking out. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm dead. I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. I was panicking. And then I remember my friend friend was like, bro, just turn off your console. Just turn it off right now. Just be safe. So I remember I ended up flicking my console off and I turned it off and unplugged it fully. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. I remember I ended up calling one of my friends on my phone. I'm like, yo, bro, like come over, like let's figure this out. So he ended up coming over and he's like, dude, like who is this girl anyway? And I said, I don't know. So what we did was we went on the internet and we searched up her gamer tag here and there to figure out who she was. And we found out that it ended up being some random weirdo that lived in Alabama. Like God knows that she was doing the devil's tango with probably her cousin. And her cousin was probably the big scary boyfriend guy that I was talking to earlier. Anyways, we figured that out. And I remember I ended up plugging my Xbox and, you know, basically going back on there. And I'm like, yo, so like, how's Alabama? She ends up going, ooh, ooh, like what? Like, why are you talking about Alabama? Like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, oh, I know where you live. I'm not dumb. And after that, she's like, ooh, ooh, what in the world? And her boyfriend's like, oh, okay, I know what you did there. You think you're smart, huh? You think you're smart? What's your actual name then? Yeah, I didn't know her actual name. So I made up some random name called Ooh Fanatic or something. I don't know. I made fun of her Ooh voice, okay? And long story short, after 2 minutes of me and her yelling at each other, she ended up literally following me on Instagram. At that point, I was freaking out. I'm like, what? She followed me on Instagram. And when I followed her back, all I saw was photos of her on Instagram being, well, let's just say somewhat attractive. I know that's weird to say. But she was actually somewhat attractive. And then from there, she shot me a message saying, hey, do you want to like maybe like take this to another platform? Whatever that means. And then she sends me some random link. Now, warning, if anyone sends you a link to anything, don't click on it unless you actually know what the link is for. But she sent me a link. I clicked on it. And after 3 minutes of me being on the site that she sent me on, and I don't even remember the site. It was some dumb site, but she sent me some site to go on. And 3 minutes later, my internet went out. My internet went out and literally like the internet would not turn back on. I had to go almost 3 days without internet to get the service guy to come back and fix my internet. Literally, this girl fried my wire. And yeah, that's basically how an uwu chick doxed me. It was kind of scary and honestly freaks me out. But you know, push goes to shove, you know, just be safe on the internet. Don't do something dumb and don't get hacked, and be careful of who you talk to. And also don't harass anybody. The internet's not a place to harass people. Bullying is not good. And yeah, that's basically it for today's story. So make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And on top of that, like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories and follow me on Instagram, because if you don't, then I will literally go do the devil's tango with your mother. All right, peace out, guys.
Let's go. Should I make it a story? Let's click record. Got that TikTok with 2 mil hit different with some more. She said she love me, she kept. Should I exit for sure? I got 100K for my life's work, so mama said bravo. All these people on my street, love y'all till the day I go. I got